Stories of Briscoe and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw. That would be your Chickasaw native, your Chickasaw Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite son, Mr. Gerald Briscoe. And in my business, I was so lucky to work with so many great guys, from The Undertaker to Big Show to Booker T, Eddie Guerrero, John Cena, on the wrestling side and on the referee side, Nick Patrick. And this man had most of my matches, and I'm such an honor to share a ring with him because I knew his father and his uncle incredibly well. It's one of the most famous families in the history of professional wrestling, the Hebner family, and he is Mr. Brian Hebner. Brian, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, boys. Jerry, good to see you as well. And I'm trying to figure out if this show can be any more entertaining than our exchanges of text that we had earlier today.
I don't doubt it.
I don't know. Sometimes, those keyboard warriors like JBL, they get rolling. They're 1,000 miles away. He's getting another 1,000 miles away. But if we were across the hall from each other, I guarantee you, the tone of the text would be a hell of a lot different.
Of course it would. I'm safe from you right where I am. I know you can't get to me. So, hey, Brian, Brian, to share with our audience, I was flying from D.C. to Vegas, and I was trying to get the captain to unleash the contents of the lavatory onto the state of Oklahoma when I was texting you guys.
And Ben, you know what? It was a Texas pilot, and he miscalculated Oklahoma and did it right over the panhandle of Texas.
I told you boys to behave when we got on here tonight. This is
hey, Brian, man, great to have you on, man. We've been wanting you on. We had your old man on before. We got some wonderful stories about your family history. Just take us back a little bit. When did you realize? Tell us a little bit about your high school days. Were you an athlete, or when did you get ribbed by your friends when they realized who Brian Hebner was?
Really kind of interesting. I was a very good athlete, as a matter of fact. My two best athletic sports were baseball and basketball, believe it or not.
Wow.
And baseball was my best. That was where I really excelled. I was a catcher. And, as far as going back to being a kid, I get asked this a lot. And believe it or not, I actually envisioned in my mind that I was going to be a wrestler for quite a while. And then my dad kind of made me look in the mirror, and I was on some stuff called Body by Birdseed, which is a non-generic drug that basically says you're a skinny little fuck and you're not going to be a wrestler. So wrestling became more of me visualizing and saying, okay, well, maybe I should be smart like the old man and maybe think about this refereeing route, because me being a wrestler is not going to work. Because I used to travel with my dad up and down the road back in the Crockett Cup days on the big school bus. I don't know if he told you guys about it, if y'all remember the story, but he drove around in this big blue bus. He would buy a big bus that was yellow, and he painted the bitch blue. And he had cages strapped on each side for each side of the ring. And the whole thing was gutted out and had the old ring and all the posts and all that stuff. And we had a little area in the front that was boxed in with a fiberglass so we could look and see if everything was situated and not flying around and all that. So I would go to all these towns and help my dad set up the ring. And some of the boys would come in early and they would work around with me and play around with me. And I was like literally taking bumps like at 6 years old, 7 years old. And it didn't hurt then. But as I got to like 10, I was like, damn, this shit hurts. No way. So that's where I quickly pretty much transitioned from the thought process of being a wrestler to a referee. It was really cool, though. Those days were really memorable, really cool days. I remember my dad really working his ass off. He'd set the ring up. He would, at this point in time, he would be doing the announcing duties. He would tear the ring down. We'd all stay up to the wee hours of the night, going to the next town, have a big kerosene heater in the middle of the bus, heating us all up, because it didn't have heat. And then, eventually.
Wait a minute. You guys drove around those Virginia hills on those cold ass winter nights in Virginia with no heat. That's like old school bus days that John and I both experienced in athletic days. You get those old Bluebird buses, make a 200-mile road trip in high school and come back, and the bus would be froze over, man.
Yeah.
It was
burning up to do the heat. One of the two. It was never comfortable on those buses.
And it wasn't on this either. Trust me, it wasn't. But it was the good old days, believe it or not. So, but yeah. But as far as school, everyone kind of knew, I would say from my late elementary years on through, who my dad was, who my uncle was, and that kind of thing. And really, it was looked at as cool. Brian's got a cool ass dad. Look, he's on TV. Always questioned all the time. It just got to where it is, like it is now. You know, when you're done with it, you hate talking about it. You know what I mean? But I only got heat a couple of times, and that would be the obvious ones when their superhero Hulk Hogan lost his belt in the Montreal Screwjob is when I took a lot of heat. But other than that, everybody loved me.
Well, wait. What about the first twin screw job? How old were you then? It was I don't forget what it was, the late '80s, right? So
yeah. So if it was the late '80s, I was right around that 15, 16-year-old. So I was in the
when your uncle Dave came in, and
the evil twin.
Your dad came in and took your uncle's spot.
The evil twin night.
Yeah, was that a problem with you at school?
It was. Yeah, it was. My dad got called a lot of names. My dad was called a lot of names. Because it was Hogan, man. It was the hero. That was the biggest superstar hero that was out at that point. And he got screwed by freaking Hebner. So, yeah, I caught some flack about it. I mean, I was even pissed about it because my dad.
The greatest promo ever when Hogan goes, "How much did the plastic surgery cost you? How much?" That's just the greatest promo ever.
Did you guys know, Briscoe? I know you know probably, or will remember this. They didn't know that my dad existed as a twin for him.
Right. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
They were doing auditions trying to find guys that looked like David. And I don't know who it was. I don't remember the story with who it was that came through and went, Vince, you know that David's got a twin brother. It was crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Your dad told us a story on here that it's insane. They were looking for referees that looked alike, and finally your uncle says, "I've got a twin."
Right. Unbelievable.
So how old were you during the Montreal screw job?
That was when I was older. That was when school, I think. Well, let's see.
Yeah, because that was what, 96 or so, right? 96 or 97.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was 97. So I was graduated from high school. So, yeah. So that was okay. I mean, it was just weird. It was just really weird. The whole thing for me was weird, just really weird. It was a bad.
Did he have heat with you?
Say it again.
Did he have heat with you? Were you mad at him for it?
No, I wasn't mad at him because I understood the situation. Yeah, and I understood he was trying to protect the company he worked for. I do know that he said he was handled pretty roughly by the man in front of my screen.
JBL, I told you about that.
It was not me. No. Hey, I wondered all those years, Brian, because I was in the locker room with your dad and your uncle, and Dave came and got the bags right before the match started. And I said, "Dave, anything up?" Because I'd already asked Tim White, "Is anything going to happen?" And Tim had no idea. He goes, "No, I don't think so. No fireworks." I said, "Okay." So none of the boys suspected anything. Nobody. When Dave got his bag, I said, "Dave, something up?" He goes, No, it's moving our bags to the car." I realize now, and I asked your dad, he just been told, and he hadn't been told that there was what was coming, but he told him get the bags and wait in the car because I told
Dave there'd be a controversial finish, which there was going to be a controversial finish. I said, and Montreal is really hard to get out of. Said, I'm giving you guys a head up. You might want to get the car ready and ready to go. So without telling him what was going on, and you guys know Montreal is a hard ass place to get out of anyway. So I gave him a heads up to get out, get out of Dodge.
So Jerry, I have a question for you. I should probably save this for when you're on my show.
Oh, you save it for
no, don't whenever. Save it
because we can.
Okay, go for it.
I have to ask this. I bet JBL would love to know the answer to this. Can you tell me, maybe not word for word, but can you tell me what you said to my dad?
I can give you a generic. I've just told him. He told me. I said I got something you got to do, and he said what? And I told him. He said I don't think I can do it. And he said. I just told him, you got mortgage to pay just like I do. Brett's leaving. You want him to take your belt with you. Yeah, I just gave him the generic stuff, and just told him, you'll have a job, and don't worry about anything. Everybody's going to take care of you on this deal. I just told him the business stuff. I didn't threaten him. I didn't grab him and bruise him or anything like that. I just looked him in the eyes.
Hey, but Jerry, go back a little bit because the story Vincent told you the night before, and then you waited up till the music was playing to talk to Earl, right?
Yeah, well, usually the referee goes out early, and I kind of drew him back, and I told Bruce, go ahead and send the talent out. I got to tell Hebner something. So they went out, and the side ramp. It was easy in Montreal to get out that little side ramp. So I waited until both participants were just about in the ring, or I think whoever came second, Sean. I waited until his music started playing. Then I slipped Hebner and through the side. But yeah, we waited until I wanted to make sure he's right with it. Timmy White being there, John. Timmy was, such a company guy. He'd always come down. You gonna need me tonight? Any ref bumps? I said, well, the match might get a little rough. Why don't you just stick by just in case we need you tonight? So I had after I had Timmy White standing by just for just in case Earl said he couldn't do it. So and we had all of our bases covered. And Tim didn't have a clue why he was waiting on what the finish was going to be. I was going to have to buzz him, but I was banking on Baby Earl doing the right thing for the company, and he did.
So that's a pretty big decision there, Jerry, to wait till that long. Because if Earl says, "I'm just not going to do it,"
I know. But let's Earl, as good a man as he is, if I would have told him, right at the beginning of the day, he would have had to walk around that arena, and you guys know how it is, and look everybody in the eyeball, and Baby Earl is too good of a man to sit there and lie flat ass to somebody if he's asked, do you know what's going on? And so I had no other choice but to wait. And you're right. It was a calculated risk that we took, and it was worth it because I knew Baby Earl would do it. But also had that insurance policy where I had Timmy White, a company guy that I know I could have told at the last minute, and he would have gone out and done exactly what Baby Earl did.
I think you made a right call because I can tell you, knowing the way my dad is a responsive guy. He's one of those guys that just reacts. Mm-hmm. You give him a thought, you're right, and he runs around with it all day. There was a good chance that he would talk himself out of it, talking with David and all that, right, because they don't know the situation as well as you guys back there know. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think fast fly, hey, this guy's going to take our belt. He's going to do this. Do you want that to happen? Earl, you're going to fucking do this. And you fired him up. And that's the way he is. He's like, you're fucking right. I'm going to fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I felt so bad for Earl too. Earl had given Brad his word. He told me that he had given Brad his word that he wouldn't screw him.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hey, Jerry, it's a little nuance, but Earl said he wouldn't count him out. So Earl didn't count him out. He disqualified him.
Earl did count him out.
He said he tapped.
Yeah, he did the tap, but it's a little nuance there. But and Earl's, like I said, there's nobody better than Earl Hebner, and a guy to his word and everything. So I just wanted to make sure that he was okay, and he was the first one I got out of the damn ring too. I didn't have to access him. He looked like Usain Bolt bolting out of that damn ring down to that parking. And once again, you guys know, you got to run down. You can't wait for that big ass freight elevator. You got to get down those steps. He told me he was down those steps in 2 steps, and I believe him.
I haven't seen him run faster than that since. I can tell you that.
So, Jerry, what were you thinking all day?
I was
around thinking this whole place is going to melt.
I stayed away from everybody I possibly could. I had a couple of matches I had to run, and I did my matches, and then I just found me a quiet place where I could kind of sit, away from everybody, because I didn't want to talk to anybody. My best friends, Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross and Pat. I couldn't talk to Pat because Pat, he would lose it in a second. Jim, I didn't want Jim involved. The knowledge of what was going down, and Bruce sitting there running gorilla. I didn't want Bruce to take any heat either, because he had to have everything on his mind to get that gorilla job done the right way. So I was basically by myself. Jack Lanza was really the closest guy I came to talking to that night, to kind of just because he said, "Man, you look tight. You look really wound up." And I said, "Yeah." I said, it's been a long weekend for me. I just gave some excuses, but I know I can trust Jack, because we all could trust Jack Lander. We all know that, and but it was tough. Every once in a while I'd pass Vince, and I'd sit there with he and I would talk to each other 3 or 4 minutes, just to kind of ease the tension and everything. But other than that, I didn't talk to anybody that whole damn day.
And Vince had asked you, did you talk to Earl yet? Right, so a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah. He asked me 2 or 3 times that I talked to Earl, and I said, "No, I haven't." And he was like everybody. When you go talk to him? When you what? I said when the timing is right. And that was I got to give Vince credit. He kind of threw it in my plate, and it said take it, and I took it, and he let me do exactly what we needed to do, and didn't question anything at all. And so I felt appreciative of that. That's the last thing you would want, if somebody questioning your deal after you spent months of night worried about it, putting it all together. But Sean was a nervous wreck, and I told Sean during the night, "Let's you and I, let's don't talk a lot," which we didn't talk a lot anyway. During the day, that was Pat's match, and so we just kind of let Pat handle the match, and I'd ask Sean, "We all set, the spot all set, when we going to do it," and stuff like that, just so I had a deal. But it was always in passing. It wasn't sitting down with him in public like I was planning something out with Sean. And we're running Hebner's show tomorrow night too, or whenever it is. Let's talk about Hebner.
Yeah, don't you just call it a showdown, buddy. It's called Reffing It Up with Brian Hebner. Come on now.
Okay. Reffing It Up.
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
Where'd you go? Who come up with that name? A Canadian or you?
No, that was me. That was me.
That was you, huh?
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah. Awesome.
You know what though, Brian? I always thought your dad got the worst bum rap out of all of that, because he was the last guy on the chain. He wasn't the one even close to making a decision. He got put in a position where he either had a job or he didn't have a job, and no matter what you think about right or wrong, I thought your dad made the right decision, and I always will. But that I always thought it kind of sucks that your dad got some of the blame for this, because he certainly wasn't the one going, "Hey, by the way, I think I'm going to just count Brett out here."
Did you ever ask him what happened and the story? Did he tell you the story? Was it like my story? I'm telling you how it happened, how it went down, or what?
Yeah, very, very much so. The only thing that was a little different, and it's because there's two parties and there's two different people as far as where they were emotional wise, was he told me it was much more of a harsher conversation, not you yelling and screaming. And it wasn't you yelling and screaming and attacking him.
I guarantee it was.
Well, it could have been, but I'm not saying it was. At the beginning, it was real calm. I think as the time as probably Sean got in the ring and Brett's music was playing and time was getting down, I might have got a little harsh with him. I don't know, but that's just conditions.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, yes,
the mechanics and everything's all the same, no, basically.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Except for the fact Mr. Briscoe being so nice.
That was not told to me that way.
That wasn't told to you that way.
So, Brian, during this time that, like say, all this happened, you're out of high school now. And is this when you're starting to get in the business? How did the progression go of getting in the business?
Well, honestly, it worked this way. So I started doing some indie stuff, nothing major. Okay. Just little spot shows around my area. I didn't go far. I don't have any great stories where people can say, "Man, that was so hard for you to do." Nothing like that. Going down, 20 miles down the street, things of that nature. And then it became where my dad trained me. And it was where WWE was allowing me, WWF at the time was allowing me to do house shows up and down the East Coast that I could get to. And I would work all these house shows. it got to where, in my opinion, I got to where I felt really comfortable and was really getting good. And Jack Lanza noticed, and he was in a meeting, and Jerry, you might have been in the meeting, I don't know, where he had said, guys, I want to just say that, Hebner's boy has been working some of these shows. I think that he's ready. I know we need a few reps, and I think that he's ready. And so basically I came in WWE and didn't work. Believe it or not, I was in WWE. A lot of people don't realize this. I was in WWE for 2 years before I was even seen on TV. Wow. Because my dad didn't think I was worth it. He said, you're the shits. So, so I had to go through all that crap. And I must have worked more Saturday Night Shotguns than any referee in the world. But that didn't stop me from getting the abuse that I got from Jerry either.
Wait a minute.
So
wait,
Jerry,
wait a minute. I got to ask him a question. You were trained by your dad. What do you set up 4 ropes in the middle of a damn cotton field there in Virginia? And I mean, come on, how you get trained by a referee, being a referee? 1, 2, you had to teach you how to count to 3, or what?
Well, you got to remember, I was an athlete. Okay, I was an athlete, and my dad.
It takes an athlete to be a referee, a good referee, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But my dad always told me the whole time I was way more athletic than he was ever in his life.
That's for sure. I'll vouch for that. If you're an athlete at all, you're more
I'll vouch for that
athletic than the Hebner twins.
So sliding, the simple art of sliding was never a problem. I was a baseball player, so that was never a problem. Sliding in position was just natural to me. That kind of stuff was natural. Cadence and counting was natural to me. He would teach me.
How about the cartwheels?
Well, you're the one that taught me those. You're the one that taught me those. And I've got a great one that I don't know if you remember or not, but anyway, we'll get to that in a minute, I guess, if you want.
No, go ahead and tell it. Is it a cartwheel?
No, much better than a cartwheel.
Yeah.
So I was in the ring with Howard Finkel, and Howard did not like to be touched. He did not like to be touched.
Hated it.
And a lot of people are like that, but Howard was one of these OCD guys that was like, don't fucking touch me. I kept creeping over to him because Jerry's going, get over there. And I'm like, and I'm waving in the camera like, I'm trying. And Howard's sensing it. He's going, get away from me, Hebner. Get away from me. And I'm not doing anything. I really need to tell you something. They want you to say something different. I'm making up all this shit on the fly just so I can do what I'm supposed to do so I don't get yelled at when I get back to Gorilla. So he says, I want you to tap his head and grab his ass. I look back and I went just like this. And I know you have a video on your show. And I look back and I went just like this to Jerry. And I'm shaking my head profusely. He went, God damn it. If you don't fucking do it, you might as well not even come back here. So I go like this, and I went, Howard, I'm sorry. I patted him on his fucking head. He was all worried about his head. As soon as he went up with his hands, I went down to his ass and smacked him on his ass.
He did not like anybody messing with his head at all.
I did the old pat, like the pat on the head, like, yeah, like that.
And for anybody watching that doesn't understand what's going on, you as a referee had the earpiece in, and Mr. Briscoe, doing the time in the back of the gorilla position, they call it, could talk to you through your earpiece, but you couldn't answer it. He could see you, so you could shake your head no, but you couldn't answer it.
There were times where Jerry, he would get on the thing when the big show started and the other people would try and do things and all that. They were doing trials. Everyone, when I went out there, said, Jerry, Brian's going out, and he'd come up and hop on in the fucking gorilla. There was another time that was actually really classic. The Samoans, the
three count.
Yeah, they were just getting started. They were obviously, because they were working with me. I wasn't on TV yet. So they were just doing their stuff. They hit their finish, and it was gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry, guys. Aki,
Hickey?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So he hits his finish, and I do 2 cartwheels, jump down to the mat. He turns over and looks up at me and goes, what the fuck's wrong with you? Just like,
why'd you do cartwheels, Hebner?
Because I was demanded so.
Was that part of your age? Was that part of your training with the old man?
Not at all.
You know the best part, Brian, is Vince one time came down there and goes, "Why is the referee doing cartwheels?" Jerry goes, "I don't know. Just looks around."
Oh, I'm totally sure.
Did anybody ever talk to you after when you did them afterwards, or anybody ever react to them besides the talent to ask you what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, the fans would be like shitting on me. I mean,
they'd applaud the hell out of it, though.
I mean, it depended on what I did. Like the cartwheel to the finish, they were just like, "What the fuck, this piece of shit."
Hey, Brian, Jerry has had people to cup check Chimmel during announcements.
I've done that as well. I don't think there's anything, Jerry. I bet you I've done more for Jerry.
So tell the people about Mr. Briscoe having you cup check Chimmel and what cup check is.
Well, this actually happened several times. This has actually happened several times.
Yeah.
And I think
when we were sitting back in Gorilla, it was the greatest thing ever to hear it go cup check Chimmel. Everybody's watching a monitor. We can't wait to see what's about to happen. It was so entertaining.
I did so many dark matches with WWE that I became a pro at anything he asked me. And that's what made it so great, because I got comfortable probably a year in, because I realized, okay, I'm doing what Mr. Briscoe's asking me to do, and I'm not getting any fucking heat. All right, so now I'm starting to feel okay. So he gets me with Chimmel, does me to do the nut check. So I don't even walk up to Chimmel. I'm sidewalking, to where I'm not walking at him. He's doing his thing, trying to get his shit in like he always does. Doesn't even notice I'm there. And I just lean back and just smack him with the backside of my hand. He barrels over and everything. He had the mic so close, he went, "Oh!" Everybody heard it.
I was just trying to relieve a little tension. Everybody knows how hard you guys work all day long. The stress is there, and you need a little tension release there. And a little playing around with Chimmel never hurt anybody, man, except Chimmel. But yeah, Chimmel, you were the best at getting Chimmel too. You wouldn't just tap him. I mean, you'd nut check him.
And the best part, Brian, it was most of the time you would get him when he was making some big announcement. He'd be right in the middle of the speech, and you walk by, whack. It was everybody in the back laughed, falling over laughing.
Everybody but Vince.
Yeah.
What's even worse is that I travel with Chimmel, and he will tell me, I swear to you, better give me a promise you're not going to fuck with me tonight. I don't care what Jerry says. He goes, or you can ride with Jerry when you're done.
Were you overseas when I would have Chimmel wave the American flag and get him besieged with drinks, beer, spit on everything? So what I started doing was, one time I just to screw around. So like the Iron Sheik would say, "Don't chant USA." I got on the microphone. I was just horsing around. I said, "I'm going to sing God Bless America." And I sat there and sang God Bless America. God bless America. I sang the whole song. The place went ballistic. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how much heat it got. So then I thought, I'm going to get a flag, in all these foreign countries that we're in, and have Chimmel go around ringside with the flag while I sing God Bless America. So what do you think the fans are going to do? They're going to throw stuff at Chimmel carrying the flag. And Chimmel's in his tuxedo. He's all dressed up. And every night I'd have him with that flag go around ringside, and he'd come back just drenched with everything he could.
He would always tell you too, Bradshaw just had this thing cleaned. Just had it cleaned.
Which is the worst thing you can tell me.
Exactly, because you go clean it again. I won't do it anymore.
I won't do it anymore.
Whenever I'd get heat, somebody throw something at me, I'd go stand right by Chimmel and I'd hook his arm where he couldn't leave. And I'd grab the microphone and go, "Don't you dare throw anything else." The next thing you know, everybody's throwing all kinds of stuff on me and Chimmel.
And by the way,
did you travel with Chimmel most of the time on the road?
Yeah, it was me, Chimmel, and Corderis. And then of course we transitioned to the tour buses. Remember when they put all the ring crew on the buses? And that was when I started riding the buses, I got kind of a cool luxury because I wasn't on ring crew anymore, but I got to ride on the ring crew bus. It was simply because I was such good friends with those guys, and that was when JR moved me to full-time referee. So, but it was cool that I got to ride on that bus because I had a bunk to sleep in. I had, have to worry about traveling, rental cars, and all that stuff. So pretty
Tell
cool.
us about the conversation when JR brought you in and made you a full-time referee.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you the whole truth, the real truth, nothing but the truth.
Okay.
Because I can't get hired and I can't get fired, so fuck them. By the way, did you boys know that I'm retired? I don't referee anymore.
I didn't know it. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Yeah, I retired from Impact and wrestling as a whole last year. So that's why I'm not worried about what I say anymore.
Why? You're young.
I mean, the thing is, JBL.
John, when you made as much money as the Hebners had, you don't need to work.
There you go, Jerry.
That's what it is.
And still in rock hard shape.
There you go.
But anyway, I was having some issues with and I'll just call it out, Jack Doan and Patton. Having some issues. I was always being hated on by those two. They thought that, I was being given matches because of this and that, obviously because my dad wasn't even working on the shows, and we did it on purpose. He worked Raw, I worked SmackDown. We never did it. We never worked together at all in WWE. We never traveled together in WWE, none of that stuff. But they kept on messing with me and fucking with me and all this bullshit. And I'm one of these type that I'd rather fight than talk about it to somebody, but I knew I couldn't do that because I'd lose my job. I did threaten them and said, if y'all want to do it outside somewhere, we could do it outside. But then, of course, I figured they'd run their mouths back to people, which they did, like little bitches. But anyway, long story short, I just got sick of it. And I knew that something was going to happen. I was going to explode. I was just going to beat their ass in the middle of wherever we're at. And so I just went to JR and I just said, look, here's my problem. What do we do? I said, because I can't work with them. They don't want to work with me. I said, it's just not a friendly atmosphere. I don't like it. I'll move to Raw. I don't want to be with my dad because then I'll really be called out over there. I was like, but I just don't want to be with those guys anymore, especially on ring crew, because I got to be around them all day and all the time. He says, well, why don't you be a full-time referee? And I went, well, that's going to give me a lot of heat. And he goes, well, if you get heat for it, you tell them to come see JR because I think you're better than they are and you deserve to be in a full-time ref spot. And I said, okay. He said, yeah, you're going to lose some ring pay money and you're going to, but you're going to make it up because you're going to be on every single thing there is. You're going to be on all house shows. You're going to be on all overseas. You're going to be on all. And I said, JR, I said, I'm being really sincere here. I said, do you really think that that's something I'm worthy of? And he said, I absolutely do. And it's something I thought about before you even came in here. It was something that's always been in my mind. And it was something I was going to come to you at some point and give you anyway. And I said, okay. And he goes, what better time now? You don't need that shit. JR, you don't need that fucking bullshit. You ain't doing shit. You're doing your damn job and you're doing it better than they are. So that's how that went down. And you talking about pissed. Now they had something to get mad about. And now I just looked at them like not wanting to fight them, just like this. Ha, 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 ha.
So you were taken out of the bus at that time? You lose your seat on that ring crew bus?
No, because the point was they ended up splitting them up.
Uh-huh.
And I had people like JBL. See, me and Kyoto also had a problem, but me and Kyoto are good. Ours was a competition. That was it. We had no problem with each other.
Yeah, you two were the ego kings of the referee generation there.
Yeah, I mean, we both cared deeply about what we did and how we did it. You know what I mean? And we had some issues with
sort of like Chimmel.
Yeah. but yeah,
don't have a big ego. He got a big everything else too.
That's right.
Hey, is Chimmel the most entertaining guy in the world?
No doubt. I could sit around him for 48 hours if I could stay up.
He's on I'm on a text thread with him. He's the funniest, consistent guy that I've almost ever been around.
Ever.
We had him on the podcast. We almost got canceled because everybody hates him. We do too. But
I had him on JBL, I had him on mine and I was like, all right, I can't even believe you're on here and why you're on here. He goes, Hebner, let's not be stupid and silly about it. You want it because of ratings, because it's Chimmel.
I've had people ask me, "Did you really pay Chimmel to come on your show?" I was like, "I'm not answering that. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna stooge either way because I don't know what he said. I
It
have
was
a
great,
feeling I
though.
know what he said."
Exactly. But to finish up that one story real quick, and then I'm going to move.
Please do. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Me and Kyoto had our competition going on, so it was all no big deal. And eventually, it became where we were really seriously battling for main events. Like I was working my ass off at house shows, he was working his ass off at house shows, and finally it came to a head where there were some guys, and I'll mention names. JBL's one of them. Brock Lesnar's another one of them. The Undertaker's another one of them, and Kurt Angle's another one of them that wanted me to be their referee. And it came to a point where Johnny Ace says it's got to be one or the other because you both can't be it. And the boys, and JBL can elaborate on that. I don't know all the boys, but I know that Brock came to me that one day at TV when I found out about it and said, as Brock would always say, "I got something to tell you. You say anything, I swear to God, I'll whip your ass." And I'm like, okay. He goes, Kyoto's going to Raw and you're staying here. And that's per the boys. And I said, okay. Believe me, I'm not saying a word. He's like, if I swear, and you know how he is. So that made me feel good, man, that my comrades and my boys, my friends came to my aid and were like, look, we want Hebner, man. We like Kyoto, but we like Hebner. So that's how that happened. That's how he got moved to Raw and I stayed on SmackDown.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know all the stuff that Brock and Taker and those guys did. I did talk to him during that time, and it was, believe me, it was nothing, 100% nothing against Kyoto, because we loved Kyoto. I loved working with Kyoto. I thought he was a great referee. I just enjoyed working with you, and I enjoyed being around you. I enjoyed being around your dad. You just kind of fit together. Everything worked fine. I was able to relay messages. Because a lot of people don't understand, which I don't even know if they, since the matches are more laid out now, so much was called through the referee to the opponent that you had to have a guy that you knew well, that you spoke basically the same type language with, and Kyoto could do it too. I just felt very comfortable with you, Brian, and it worked really well.
That's something that people don't realize is how important what guys like Brian and Kyoto do, and the other referees do too. They work their asses off. But they're that third or fifth guy in the ring who just relays messages, because we all get out there, we get smacked up beside the head, we lose our train of thought, and those referees are right there buzzing you just to bring you back to the same page as everybody else. And it's so important. And when you have a good one like we had a locker room full of great referees as far as I'm concerned. But
and it was a collaboration. It was a collaboration. I'm sorry, Mr. Briscoe, to cut you off. It was a collaboration, Mr. Briscoe. You know how it worked. When you had a referee that you really trusted,
right? Yeah.
Like that referee, you might tell him, "Hey, be sure and get the mic handy. I think I'm going to do that."
Well, it's so much continuity, right? I mean, you're involved in them every night in house shows, and then all of a sudden a big pay-per-view match, and somebody wants to sign another referee. You've had that continuity where we all of you are flowing on the same page, and you know that. So you're exactly right. It's just that camaraderie and that continuity and the referees that you got to have consistent sometimes.
And because like the referee might say something like part of the ring rope has come off or something, not the rope itself, but something like tag rope or something. A referee that knows that you might use it will tell you. The rope is the tag rope has come off, or they'll tell you something that you might have forgotten, or they might think is better. And with the referee that you trust and understand, you're just like, got it, and you see how it fits into what you want to do, and all of a sudden the referee has called part of the match just like you have, and that's a collaboration that's pretty hard to find among referees that are really smart guys like Brian is, and like Kyoto is, in fairness, and be fair.
So Brian, what was probably the most bizarre thing that JBL ever had you do in the ring?
I don't think we can talk about that on here.
Yeah, we can.
we can certainly talk about Brian Hebner turning into Pat McAfee out there in the ring.
You telling me, I telling you.
Come on, Brian. Let's spill the beans. Come on, Brian. What is it?
I could tell what happened. It was after the video aired with me giving Eddie's mother a heart attack, And the first night or the first weekend, the next weekend after that video aired, Heat changed. And Brian's out there with me. We're like in San Bernardino or something. It's 99% Latino wanting to see me die. And Brian's the only white guy in the arena with me.
So true.
And some fan jumps in the ring after me, and Eddie Guerrero goes after the fan because he said he screwed up our match. I'm going, Eddie, I'm the heel. I'm the one that has to fight the fan, not you. He goes, he screwed up our match. So I grab Eddie and I look around, and Brian has punted this guy's head off. It's just, I mean, it looked like a Pat McAfee Ray Guy punt. This guy's head goes flying back. Brian kicks him again, punches him, gets him off. The guy never made it in the ring because of Brian. And I don't know what the guy was going to do, but Brian certainly saved whatever happened. The referee, all the security comes and drags the guy out.
There was another time that I remember this and never forget it. It wasn't the same night, JBL. It was another night we were in Mexico somewhere, I believe. And now I want to explain this because y'all will agree. Do y'all watch today's wrestling at all?
Occasionally.
Yeah, some.
Okay. There's no real heat. You know what I mean? There's no real heat. Everybody loves everybody, it seems like to me. A few exceptions, but there's no real heat. JBL was able to generate real heat like back in the day that you hadn't seen in such a while, especially with this Eddie feud. And this heat was amazing, like amazingly, like it was scary heat. We're at this show, and me and JBL meet in the back before we go out. We go over everything. He's like, we'll just be on our heels to toes. We'll just keep on But
because we had extra security all the time, and we were constantly on alert for fans coming in the ring.
Yes.
And yes. Brian was basically my only protection.
Yeah, right. I felt like it. So JBL, I think himself was overwhelmed with the heat in that building, and I wish I could remember where it was at. It got dark. It felt like the building was falling in our, like, I don't understand. Like, I've never ever been in a ring, and Jerry, you're gonna kill me for saying this because back in y'all's days, heat was real, but he brought it like that again. But it was so real, it scared the shit out of me. And I believe, because I've never seen JBL and I've seen him 1,000 times, I believe he became a little worried. Because I'll tell you what happened after that. Once again, I said we met in the back. We talked about like kind of a strategy kind of thing, whatever. He gets in the ring. He comes right to me. He doesn't even do his gimmick entrance. He comes right to me. He goes, I'm going to look hard camera the whole way, and you're going to look the opposite hard camera the whole way. I got this side. You got this side. Because this shit is fucking crazy.
I remember that very well.
And I was just like, so I turned, I stopped being a referee. I turned my back on JBL and everything and just watched like a fucking security guy. I was like, all right, I got to watch this shit. It was crazy. It was crazy. But I will give him props because I have never seen it since then, and I've never felt it since then. That was amazing.
Hey, Brian, you come up with old school just like we both all of us did, but the heat generated. I mean, we worked so hard to generate that heat, and it felt so damn good, even as a referee, because you've been a part of that build. That's got to be something, because your ass is going to have just as hard a time getting out of the ring as that heel does, and you got to be his best friend. You got to watch his back, and he got to watch your back. But the friendship that you develop in doing this stuff, I mean, wow, it takes a lot, doesn't it?
It does. But the thing is, like you said, it does build friendships up. Me and JBL have been around in bars around the country, just being friends, bullshitting, talking to business. You know what I mean? Yeah. He didn't have to invite me. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do that.
We had so much fun. We had fun in and out of in the ring, out of the ring. We had a great. I love Brian. Brian lives. It was so much fun. Remember one time I'm cutting a promo. Brian goes, John, we are the only white people in this building. You should shut up now. Because Brian knows if they come in the ring, he and I are together.
He works so hard. I mean, he was working hard to be a heel, but sometimes JBL will get overboard and forget.
You think?
And I just go up there and I just do the side mouth and everything. You got to remember where we're at. Stop that shit.
I won't get out of here tonight.
Yeah.
One time I were in Japan, maybe the referee, and I'd broken my foot, and they put like a steel thing in the bottom. I had a no holds barred match with Undertaker, and they made it a no holds barred so that we could go through the crowd because I couldn't walk. I hurt my foot, and I hit Taker with this cane, and he said, "Did you take this cane from that old man?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're the best."
I remember you took a hat off of somebody. You'll remember in a minute. You took a hat off somebody. You were so pissed. You were acting all friendly to them at first, and yada yada yada. And then you just turned on them, took their hat, and you stomped on it. I didn't think anything bad about it. And then you just looked at me. You went, "That's a $500 fucking hat." Do you remember that? What kind of hat was that?
Yeah.
What
yes,
hat
I do. Yeah.
Insane.
Well,
And
it
the
was one
guy
of
was so
those
mad.
15-star Stetsons or something like that.
Oh,
John?
yeah.
And JBL knew. He knew. He wasn't stupid. He knew he was going to crush that hat. He knew it.
Although those things stick out like crazy because they're so creased and they're so well done and everything. Yeah, JBL probably took a look at it and I'm gonna get rid of this thing, man. He got a better hat than I do.
It was insane. We had some good times. It's unmatched. Those days are never going to happen again.
Speaking of Taker, did you have any experiences with Taker that you can share with us?
I had lots, actually. I had lots of experiences with him. Yeah. My best that I can remember, me and him had a heartfelt talk. We were in San Francisco, or going to San Francisco, where that bridge is. What's the San Francisco Bridge?
Bay
right?
Bridge, Bay Bridge.
Yeah. The Bay Bridge of the Golden Gate.
Yeah. Me and him had to catch a flight. I had actually worked a Raw that night. He was on SmackDown and he worked Raw as well. We did a Raw match versus SmackDown or whatever. So we had to ride back together, and we didn't have to. He asked me if I wanted to, and of course I'm not going to say no. So I'm in the car with him. He's got beer, and I'm like, "Can I grab some beers?" And he's like, "Well, how many are you trying to think about?" And I was like, "We might want to hit a store." So he does. He hits a store. He's like, I'll buy it. He's like, "I just don't want you drinking all my shit." And I'm like, "Okay." So the wind and the weather was terrible that night. I mean, terrible. And they were treacherous warnings and stuff like this. And anyway, we get all buzzed up where we're not even caring about this weather. Our car is about to flip over going across this bridge, or whatever. And we're just talking nothing but wrestling, nothing but passion, nothing but just shit that the boys don't even know that they like. It was unbelievable. It was like I was talking to God in a wrestling heaven. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, it was just shit that I've never heard before. I was being exposed with so much information. And I am a sponge. I am a sponge. You know, Kurt Angle will tell you, I can memorize a match better than he can, better than half the boys. I would just take everything in. It was, Jerry, the point to this, so it's not elongated. I don't know if there's anybody that's ever talked to him on that level with a few of these in us where he let loose. But we had the conversation that I think anybody in this business would go, wow, you are the man. You are the man.
Just hearing you describe it makes me feel that way. I just, sit with Taker and just absorb that knowledge that the guy has. He has such a deep appreciation for the business. A lot of people know how Taker feel about our business, but having that one-on-one that you had with him, man, that is a memory right there.
He cares about the little things that people don't think about. And those little things go so far. And he was just describing them to me. And I took that conversation, and shit, that was 20 some years ago. And I used that. I applied that. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. And JBL was talking about the ring. He taught me, the Undertaker taught me, and not even my dad. Not that my dad wouldn't have taught me, but I inspect the ring for the boys before they get there. Like, in other words, I get in the ring, and I feel and jump around and look at the pads and feel the ropes, feel where a piece of wire may be coming out of the rope where they may want to hit their back or something, feel the apron. Those are the important things that the Undertaker wanted to know about, wanted to feel, wanted to know about. And they're little things that I guarantee you, I'm sorry to say, there ain't a motherfucking referee right now doing that shit. No one.
Yeah, and Brian, you didn't have a ton back then either. You did have some, but the old ones, the wise ones, would go around, and when you'd walk in the ring, you would always tell me, "There's a loose board in that corner over there. Be careful." Because if you take a bump there, you could break a clap, you could break a shoulder, you could break something because the board's sticking up for some reason, which happens sometimes in a ring with big guys taking bumps in it.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the small details that he would tell me about that I carried on. That's very important, man. And I don't know why that's not taught. I don't know why that's not taught. I don't know why that's not explained. I don't know. The refereeing business has gone to the shits, in my opinion, if you watch today's product.
And you know what, Brian? That's something that you'll take to your grave that you'll always remember. I remember like Dusty Baker, the manager of Houston Astros, talking to Hank Aaron, sitting outside the dugout, Hank Aaron talking to him about pitchers and how to watch windups and stuff. That's something that a normal person would pay thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for, but they can't get it on that level because they're not a contemporary. They're not talking to them like Taker was talking to you. And that's something that you'll carry for the rest of your life. That's some of the cool stuff in our business. That's just a gift that's given to you.
Yeah, John, if you'll remember, we had Wade Boggs on our podcast, and he said one of the most memorable moments he ever had was sitting on that bench with Ted Williams and Ted Williams talking hitting. That's like you talking to the Undertaker. That's the same analogy, the greatest in our business. Sitting there telling Wade Boggs how to hit the ball and Taker telling you how to react to something in the ring. So,
and Brian, you know how it was with Taker. I mean, I wrestled him probably 200 or 300 times. We used to close the shows, after all the SmackDown TVs and stuff. Every night, wrestling on the shows. So I don't know how many times, but a lot of times, if not a couple hundred. No match was talked over in the back. He wanted to go out there and he wanted to feel what the people were buying that day, because as crazy as it sounds, you have a matinee in Detroit, you have a night show in Cleveland. It's different audiences. Even though they're close proximity geographically, it's different audiences. You don't know what they're buying. And you always go out there with just an open mind, going, and I knew he'd figure it out. I had no doubt he's going to figure it out, and
especially in those dark matches after the TV taping. I mean, those things, you guys go out there, you go 20, 25 minutes and just constant movement, but none of that stuff is rehearsed. None of it's talked about, because those matches, those dark matches are usually made, after the fact, after the show goes off the air. One guy might not even know who the opponent is coming out there, and then like Earl and Brian there, they got to relay what we're saying over the headset to you guys, and you guys got to jump in it and do it right, and it takes all three of you to do it.
JBL, I remember this too. I remember, this is just one thing. I remember a lot, but I'm saying, but this is one thing I remember about Taker, and even you. He did the top clothesline. The walk across the top rope, and the crowd didn't respond the way he wanted, and he went, well, fuck, they didn't pop for that. He went, cut me off, and you went, cut you off? You just hit your fucking gimmick move. And he was like, cut me off, goddammit. And you cut him off. I mean, that's how he thought. That's how he thought. He just thought, that's not what I wanted. I'm gonna go another direction.
Yep, and go another direction like that. And the few guys can do that. I mean, you're just not talking about just today. Few guys could do it back then. You get out there, because one move set up another. You did not necessarily the whole match, but you knew one move set up another. So Taker does the old school that sets up the cross eyes, sets up the boot coming off the ropes. It all sets up one thing another. But when something didn't work, he broke the whole chain. Yeah. So, okay, let's just do something else right now.
Yeah, you cut him right off. You didn't do it right away. You were like, what? Cut you off?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I heard it right. But that's one of the reasons we wanted guys like you out there and you out there. I mean, just because you needed a person you could trust, always trusted to know what was going on. and stuff to be relayed, because information had to come at you from all directions, because you're living by feel at that moment.
God bless his soul. Do you remember the blade in LA that Eddie Guerrero gave me to give to him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I saw it. Black Bart used to call that the old business blade. Like, I'm going, Eddie, you've got a dagger.
Yes.
Like a steak knife.
Describe it to us there, Brian. What did it look like?
It looked like a very bit of little tape and a lot of metal.
A lot of metal, little tape.
And I'll tell you this, I didn't know it, but after
Where'd you keep it? Where'd you keep it?
Well, he gave me two. I'm old school. I usually keep them in my mouth. I couldn't do it in my mouth because there was nowhere to do it. There was nowhere to put it in my mouth because there was too much fucking blade. So I put both in each pocket, and I put the best cap I could on it, you know. But so I gave him the gimmick and got to the back. Of course, he wasn't doing well after that match because he lost so much blood. But I wanted to check on him and all that, and then finally they reassured me he was going to be okay, and I went ahead, you know, to change. And when I pulled my pants down, there was blood gushing down my leg.
Wow.
That blade had hit me several times in that other leg because there was no I couldn't cap it to stay capped. It was just too big of a blade, man. I don't understand why he did that, but
I do because he told me beforehand he had juiced earlier, like a few months earlier, and it didn't come well because he had a lot of scars over his head. You know, like a lot of the old school guys had all the scars on their head. And
well,
so
he
wanted to make sure and get deep enough, and that's why he made that. Well, we used to call him the business blade, and he had that. Somebody the next day got a steak knife and put a little tape around the handle. Said, "Hey, look, I found Eddie's blade."
It was like a Gary Hart blade, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
It was something that was another very special moment me and JBL shared together. That and Eddie, that was we sold that bitch out. Not me, but.
Oh
yeah, you too. I remember that night. That was the most grotesque night I think I've ever. Everybody knows how wheezy I get all over that stuff. I was just about throwing up just looking at the guys out there. I've never seen so much blood in a wrestling match, and I've seen some of the biggest with Dusty Rhodes and Joe LeDuc and guys like that. But Eddie Guerrero and JBL, when they got that color, man, there was nobody got it like that.
I'll tell you one little secret. I'll tell you one little secret about that. That not only that night, but majorly that night. I'm like you, Jerry. I have a very weak stomach. I gagged the rest of that match the entire time I counted.
Really?
Yes. Because I can't stand it. My hand was slapping blood. And it was splattering in my face.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
And blood has a smell. Blood has a smell.
Yeah, blood has a drink smell. Yeah.
And I don't like that shit, man. I don't. Yes, it was. When you would grab him and put him in a hold, and I would ask Eddie, I would go, I swear to y'all, I'm not lying. If you go back and look at video on it, you'll pick it up. I would go, Eddie, what are you saying? I go, and I go, just to get myself together. I'm not good with that. I mean, I don't mind blood, but to that amount, good God,
so Eddie tells me one time, like after I got color, he goes, good juice essay. And I said, Eddie, the blade's still on my wrist, you asshole. He had busted me open. And when I told him that, he started laughing. He goes, I got you. You know what? Guys hear that now, they think that's how we played. That was us. You know, that's what we did. You know, later I got color with it too, just because thought I better get, I got this blade I got to use anyway. I'm bleeding like crazy on my head from where Eddie had hit me.
You should have cut your wrist.
many years ago, Brian.
I'm totally kidding.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because that was the SmackDown. That was a real source of pride for us that we had sold that out. You know, because we didn't know if we could or not. You know, Brock had just left, and we didn't know if we could or not, and we didn't know ticket sales were not that good. And then all of a sudden, Chavo, Eddie's brother, came up with that idea to give his mother the heart attack there in El Paso, and that's when business just went through the roof. That's when ticket sales took off, and you were there, Brian. You knew that place was They were there to see Eddie Guerrero kill somebody.
Was you in the
Yeah.
ring that night when JBL attacked Eddie's mother?
Yes, I was.
Wow, that was heat there. I was sitting in the back, and I've never experienced that heat. Wow, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, you should have been there. That's the
That
thing.
that place got. I've never seen an entire arena get quiet. I mean, quiet. You could hear a pin drop when his mother went down with faking that heart attack. And what I did was I put my hand on her shoulder, and she grabbed my wrist, so it looked like I was kind of pushing her down. But she was, she's 74. You don't want to break something. She was helping herself down, and when she got down, you could hear a pin drop. It was eerie. And Eddie goes, "S.A. get the fuck out of here." And I'm sitting there thinking, we get this on camera. This is the hottest thing in the business. That's what I'm thinking. We got to get this on camera because we're filming it from different angles where it wouldn't look like it was staged and all that stuff, And we had state troopers around the ring. We had extra police, and Jimmy Noonan was there. He's begging me. He goes, "John, get out of the freaking ring. They're going to riot. You've got to get out of the ring." Yeah, it was pretty wild.
I also remember JBL too. Some pretty cool backstory. People don't realize there was natural competition between Raw and SmackDown.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Not like it is today. They swapped talent and all that shit. We didn't do that back then, and we were literally looking at house show numbers. We were looking at ratings and things like that.
And pay-per-view numbers too.
Yes, and that's what made that Staples Center number. Because I remember they didn't tell us to the day of the show. We had a meeting, and they told us, "No, I'm lying. I'm not lying. I forgot." They told us at the SmackDown taping that Sunday coming in, we sold that bitch out, and that was to give us all this because no one, like you said, thought we could do it. And that was the cream of the crop for that brand, and that's when that brand really went to another level. The competition was real, though. I wish it was like that now. I think that make the product better. But God, you have to explain how this competition went, and the draft sucked too. Remember that shit?
Oh yeah, I remember very well. Yeah. We'd look at guys that we were getting and what we're losing, and we're losing. Come on, guys, you're screwing us on this draft. I mean, literally, guys were bitching about the draft because we thought we got screwed on it in a couple of years.
The draft was real.
Like house shows, we do Detroit or the Garden or something, especially the Garden. We do the Garden, and that was a real comparison. If it was SmackDown or Raw, who drew more in the Garden, or who drew more in the Rosemont, Chicago? The big arenas. There was a huge competition between us. We always looked at ratings. We looked at everything. That's why that Staples Center was a really
and look what that made the business. It made it 10 times better than what it is. I mean, because of the competition, the guys stepping up their work because they had the pride to be the best, and that's how it made like that.
But the thing that sent us to the moon was that angle with Eddie's mom, and that all came from Chavo, Eddie's brother, and Eddie. So those two guys created the big angle. Now, I know Bruce had a lot to do with it, Vince, and everybody had a lot to do with it, but those two guys came up with the idea to come up with that angle, and that's what launched us into the stratosphere. Very similar to the angle you remember, Mr. Briscoe, of Chavo Sr. and Roddy Piper,
right?
Coliseum in L.A.
Yeah,
that was done about 30 years earlier.
The Olympia, yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
Like the Donkey and his family and Gory and all the stuff that Piper did against Chavo kind of was redone with me and Eddie.
Well, you guys they had the perfect ingredients in that match, and with Eddie's heritage and you being at Loudmouth, Texas. I mean, that's real life in Southwest Texas, and it really is. I mean, and so I think that's the people could see the clarity in it and the reality in it. That's life. And you guys wouldn't be able to do a lot of that stuff today, man. I'd take us off air in a minute.
Eddie called me one day, Mr. Briscoe, and told me, I got one for you, essay. Tell him my ancestors come over here in a boat, not an inner tube. Eddie, you're going to get me killed. He goes, no, it's good shit, essay. Good shit, essay. I said, okay, I'll say it. You remember Brian? Eddie used to give me lines all the time. He loved giving me lines to make people mad.
But what made it right and work is that Eddie embraced it. He wanted this to work. He wanted this to work.
Yeah.
I honestly feel, JB, I don't know if you feel this way, and if I'm hurting you a little bit, I'm not meaning it that way. You have to think about what I'm saying. He wanted to get you over. Yeah. He wanted to put you to another level, in my opinion. And he was so willing to do it. And it didn't matter at what cost. It didn't matter at what cost. And I think he did. I mean,
I've said several times, I owe literally 100% of everything that I had with JBL to Eddie Guerrero. 100%. Because if Eddie and Chavo had not come up with that angle, and you got to understand what that angle did. You know, that angle got so hot that a month later they put the title on me, and I held it for a record length of time. So that title came off of Eddie. Eddie gave me the angle that took the title off of him, and he was okay with that. He was so proud of what I was doing as a champion. He'd tell me all the time. He always called me. He watched all my matches. You know, he was just a different guy. He was a wonderful human being.
I actually I traveled with him a little bit too, and this was during those times. And you're right. He loved your character. I don't know what it was for him, the infatuation it was. I know he didn't love you. I think he loved the character.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
But no, he had some kind of infatuation about. I honestly think it was taking a guy that people didn't believe in and saying, I can get him there and he'll do the rest because the character's that good. That's what I believe.
I do too. And the thing is, we understood the character. We're both from West Texas. We both had seen these oil rich guys that were total assholes. And that's where when I always wanted inspiration for JBL, I would see these guys when I grew up that I hated. And I thought if I hated them as much, then that's the kind of character that I want to be. And Eddie knew that character very well. It was the old rich old guy that was just redneck rich that would, I had a guy in our town of Sweetwater drove a Lamborghini around back in the 80s. I mean, there's a poor town. He's throwing money around. And and Eddie knew that character very well. That's why I think it always worked so well, because I understood what made the character hated. Eddie did too. And what made Eddie so beloved, because we're from the same part of the country that we grew up together, grew up in the same area together. And I think that had a lot to do with it. And
like you say, a lot of that stuff was just real life. It was just two real life people, that hit the jackpot with each other.
Yeah, and I've always said, Brian, you've been out there with all the best in the business. Eddie, at his peak during that time, I don't know anybody that was any better. I mean, there are guys that, you can say is good. Shawn Michaels in 95, 96 was untouchable. Undertaker throughout his career was untouchable. May not be any better, but they may have been as good. But I don't know anybody that was any better than Eddie at that time. He was like grabbing an electric cord that wasn't grounded when he got out there. Just electricity just pulsed through the crowd. It's hard to explain how good he was.
I would say this, JBO, and I don't know if you agree or not. We'll just figure it out right now. I would say that he was the most expandable wrestler, meaning style didn't matter to him because he could do it all.
Yeah.
So you could put him with Rey Mysterio and you could have this flippy floppy 460 Phoenix splash, this, that, and that. And you could have him work with you with the groundwork and the heat and the comeback and the normal stuff. You know what I mean? But he could do ladder matches. He could do anything. It didn't matter what you put in front of him and who you put him with. He was that guy back then. Yeah. He made himself a star if he wanted to, if the position was there. If not, if they wanted him to make someone else a star, he could do it there. There's a difference when Shawn Michaels was untouchable back then. He was untouchable for his own self, though. There's a difference. Shawn Michaels has admitted this. You know what I mean? So Shawn Michaels worked his style, and either you worked it or you didn't work with it. Eddie was a willing competitor that said, I'm going to work whatever style that you have and you're comfortable with to make our match better because you know what? I can do it. I think that was a huge difference.
Yeah, Eddie was so smart. Like Taker, we never called a match. That whole match with the Staples Center, we didn't call that. We called that out there in the ring. You were there. It was. I was remember when Pat brought the finish.
Tell us that what their story where Eddie said, hey, I don't like what they're doing. We'll just do it. And we guys went to Pat to give you guys credit. You didn't go into business for yourself.
Yep. So Pat came to us with a finish idea, and he laid it out, and I was looking at Eddie, and Eddie didn't say anything, so I didn't either. And he's like, Pat, I said, okay, thank you, Pat. So when Pat walked out, I said, Eddie, what's wrong? He goes, I don't like it. And I said, don't like what? He said, any of it. I said, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to call it out there. He goes, these people are going to be on fire for us. And I said, okay. So I went and pulled Pat aside. I said, Pat, can I talk to you? And he said, of course. And I said, Eddie doesn't like it. And he said, doesn't like which part? I said, any of it. And Pat, to his credit, he goes, you know what? You guys are the ones in this spot, and you guys will get the blame if it's a failure, and you guys will get the credit if it's a success. He goes, if you think you can go out there and call it, he goes, go out there and call it. He thought that much of Eddie Guerrero. And
you.
Pat let us go out there and just call the match on the fly, the whole thing, the finish, everything. It was that much faith in Eddie.
I'll say this. I'm not going to lie to you. I went out there, which I'm a prepared guy. We already went over this. I get my matches. I get it all. I was the most unprepared referee for the main event of a sold-out crowd I've ever been in my life. The only two things I knew were my ref bump, my blade to Eddie, and the finish. And that's not me. I want to know way more than that. I want to. They wouldn't give it to me.
We didn't have it.
They didn't have it. And Eddie would say to me, and JBO would say to me, well, we're going to throw in this and that. Well, they're going to be falsies. And I go, I hate it. I was a nervous wreck. Because I felt like an unprepared teacher going into the first day of school, with nothing to talk to my students about. And I felt comfortable knowing the finish, but here's the problem, just knowing the finish. What if we don't get to the finish? Or right. what if we don't get to the finish where it works, where they call it on the spot? And now all of a sudden they've changed their finish that they've told me because that didn't work at the time when they're trying to call shit. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many variables there. There's so many variables. You talking about a nervous son of a bitch. Me. At
least there was just a little blood to get through.
just a little, about 18 puddles all through the mat.
Wow. Brian, you mentioned bumps. Tell us a little bit. What were some of your most heralding bumps that you ever took, and one that some that you regretted taking, some that you never want to take again? Tell us a few about those.
Jerry, I'll tell you, I've taken every bump in the world except for the top of the building through a table, or 4 or 5 of them. Yeah. I was a bumping machine, and I enjoyed it and I loved it. And JBL will tell you, I never shied away from a bump. They were my pride. A fan made a bump reel for me the other day, and I watched some of those.
I'd like to see that too.
I'll send it to you. It was unbelievable. I can't believe some of the shit I took.
Well, what's the biggest bump that you took?
Well, you mean like toughest to me,
or
toughest?
Just like, the toughest to you.
He's gonna get mad. But I took a choke slam for every day of my life on 3 months tour from the big show, and it had to be on the side where there's no fucking padding. And finally, I had to give in and gave up. And I had to go to Fit Finley and ask him to please take me out of that match. And Big Show's butt hurt so bad. And it wasn't him. It was just over and over again. And it was on the side because the finish was in the center because it was a frog splash. You know what I'm saying? So it just hurt, man. It started creeping on me, and my shit was getting tore up. And I was just like, I can't keep taking this. But as far as Big Show goes, no, he laid me down, but just you can't lay down or lay me down for 3 months straight for
Big Show was incredibly safe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He was so strong, and he's such a good athlete that Big Show always, you fall from a very, very high distance, but he always put you down flat and safe. And he chokeslammed me from the top of the rope through the ring that one time in Pittsburgh, and when the ring collapsed, and I'm sitting there, I'm going to show you. You understand, my life's in your hands, and I'm going backwards. He goes, "Don't worry," and he put me. You couldn't have drawn a chalk line better than what he put me there. He put me perfectly. He knew he had to take care of me, and I had no doubt he was going to do it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he wasn't safe. What I'm saying is the amount of those takes every night.
Every night, yeah. And your body's not exactly built for a choke slam every night either. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not.
Not from a 400-pounder anyway.
Hey, I'll tell you a funny story on Big Show. We had the rings, the rings harder at times. So they had a place where I think Taker was going to come up to the ring or go get chokeslammed through the ring or something like that. So me and Ron were fodder that night. I'm going to get chokeslammed, but you got to be careful because the ring, you can't go through where the trap door was, but the ring was hard as a freaking rock. I had earrings at the time because part of the APA. Big Show chokeslammed me so hard my earrings popped out. And when I did, I told Ron, I go, "The ring's hard as a rock. Roll out." And before Big Show could grab him, Ron rolled out.
Hey, Jerry, I'll tell you this one. Here's one that was pretty good. This is my ingenious, stupid ass. So, like I said, I'm athletic. And Taker came to me one day, and he said he wanted to, let's see, who was he working with? I think he was working with Brock. And he said he wanted to bump me. And he said, figure something out for me. I'm lost. I don't want to do a squish in the corner. I said, to me either. I don't want to do a regular da-da-da-da. He said, I want something creative. And I said, okay. I said, all right. So I came up to him and I went, Taker, I got it. He goes, what is it? I go, it's not a squisher, but it's going to look like one, but it'll be different. And now it's done all the time. So now it doesn't sound ingenious, but you're going to put him in the corner. You're going to go shoot him out. I'm going to get in the corner. You're going to reverse, almost hit me. Everybody knows after that, here comes a squisher. And I went, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to feed out, play the dumb referee like, whoo, thank God I didn't get squished. I'm going to get behind Brock. You're going to go to clothesline him. He's going to duck, and I'm going to take it. And I'm going to do a 360 flip all the way around.
Wow.
And he goes, what do you mean? And I went, I need you to hit me good, though. And I looked at him and I went, I want you to hit the fuck out of me, Taker. Don't be a bitch. He looked at me and he went, you tell me where to hit you. And I said, don't hit me down. Just don't spike me. Just hit me right across my chest, right around the neck area, as hard as you can. And I will give you a 360 bump and take the fucking best bump you've ever seen. He goes, do you want to practice? I went, fuck no, I don't want to practice. I got it. He said, okay, if you go back and look at that, it was a badass fucking bump and it hurt like shit.
I remember that very well.
Yeah, I stopped telling people to hit me so hard now because I thought I needed the momentum, but I don't. I just need you to just put it in there a little bit, and I can rotate over. But that was one where I had a headache and I was dinged up, that kind of thing. And Jericho gave me 3 power bombs one night. I only remember one of them. I don't remember the next 2. And my dad dropped the people's elbow on me that night. That was when we had the invasion angle.
Right.
But I'm taking some shit, man. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I've gone through tables.
Okay, tell us this, and tell us the absolute truth, and don't kiss the guy's ass. But how stiff were the clotheslines from hell?
Well, I'll take it a lot. He was good to me. He was good to me. He was good to me. He hit me up high. I swear. He didn't drop me down. I would take one tomorrow from him. I mean, honestly, I've seen a lot of them that weren't friendly, and I can't complain. He took care of me.
Yeah.
Well, it's like yelling.
That's not the answer I was looking for, though.
Gary, I want to tell you right now, if I could bury him, I'd bury him, but I can't. He took care of me.
He's not. You're not going to be booked against a match with him either. I promise you that.
The hardest
You're retired.
The hardest clothesline was the one never thrown. That was the one for Chimmel.
I'm not saying, hey, Jerry, I'm not saying I didn't feel it. What I'm saying is he wasn't coming on a freight train trying to kill me.
Yeah.
What was fun was those international tours were so fun. We had so much fun. The crowds were just insane. It was a fun, it's one of those things where you say, I do it for free, and I wouldn't now because I'm old, but it's one of those things that was one of the most fun times of our life was doing those international tours. We had so much fun. That's when the boys, and again, it's hard to compare eras because we didn't have the internet. So we didn't have the option of being on the phone. We didn't have the option of, being on social media. There wasn't social media. We had the option of being around each other, but what a great time that was.
What a great crew.
Well, we always have Dave Meltzer. He's always right. But no, you're right. They were the finest times of my life, and that's actually, in all honesty, Jerry, JBO, you'll both agree with this. That's where you actually meet people and feel like who they really are. Have normal conversations where it's not at that TV setting where it's everything going on, everybody fighting and jockeying for position and all that stuff. This is where you can relax. You're on tour. You're already there. It's over with. You don't have to worry about getting, well, some of us have to worry about getting fired. But anyway, but no, they were the relaxing moments where we all figure out each other and we all have fun together and we figure out, like, you know what, that jackass Johnny Ace ain't too bad, which I'm not saying that. But you know what I mean? Like, you figure out people like Fit Finley. I figured out Fit Finley. I love that man with all my heart, man. I really do. I don't know what y'all think of him, but I love Fit Finley. I love him.
He's a brother.
I think the world of him as a person and as a worker.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Wow. Yeah.
I've loved Fit Finley since the day I met him in Europe, in, I think 93 or 94. He's always been the same guy. This good guy, and he was
solid.
He was as top a guy as you could possibly get in Europe. He drew houses there in the same building for 15, 20 straight years. He was, and a great worker he was. He's the same guy now as he was then. He's the same guy when he came in as he was then. Finley's never changed. He's always been the same good human being that he always is.
Amen. Yeah.
Yep.
Brian, you seem really happy now. What are you up to? I know you mentioned you're retired. Are you working now, or what's going on in your life up in Virginia?
Well, I have a family business that I've had for 46 years. I haven't had it for 46 years, but my family has. And we've now got 2 stores. Now we're growing, we're expanding, and it's an appliance business. And so we are basically the only group that around this area that does things locally, family owned. We don't send Dick and Harry to your house to get a washer and dryer. We send our guys to your house. We have our own service team. We have a bunch of other things. We have our own sales department, things of that nature. So I run and control day-to-day operations there. They're so happy that I'm out of wrestling. Actually, they're the ones that say, get out of wrestling. We hate you being fucking gone. Here's the fucking money we want to give you.
And then when you got back from the road trips, being the grouch that you are.
Yeah, they hate me. Yeah. Here's the thing. I love wrestling with all my heart, for real. I do. But where I'm at right now in my life, I don't miss the road. I don't miss the travel. I don't miss the hotel rooms. I don't miss the rental cars. I miss the camaraderie and I miss being in the ring. But if all the other shit that I don't miss is consistent of that's what I want to do, then I don't want to do it. So I'm happy, man. I've got kids. I've got a kid in college right now playing college baseball. JBL, you remember Trevor?
Yeah, where's your kid playing baseball?
He's at Milligan University in Tennessee right now. He's going to probably transfer, but anyway, he's there. He's earning his stripes, And then I have two 14-year-old daughters that are twins. They just went to high school this year. And a big part of that was them, because girls need their daddies. And I know that's important. And I'm fortunate and happy enough that I've put money away, that I'm able to walk away and be able to have a nice life. And I know I owe it all to wrestling. I owe it all to wrestling. And I really do. Everything I've got.
That's awesome. Good for you, Brian. And you got a podcast that you're having Mr. Briscoe on, right?
Yeah, we're going to tape tomorrow. It drops on Wednesdays. It's called Reffing It Up. And I am going to drill him tomorrow. I cannot wait.
I was a good guy tonight. That's the reason I've been real quiet. I was a good guy tonight. I'm afraid of repercussions tomorrow.
No, I'm going to be nice to you, but I have some stuff I want to dig with you, though. It's going to be good.
Oh, good.
Well, I've seen just two generations of Hebners fight in the ring to protect the boys, and so
where were they? Where was it? Canada?
No.
That was. Did you ever hear this story about when Earl and Dave got in a fight with John?
JBL has talked to me at length with this at a bar one night. And, yeah.
I was the only one there
with the knife.
That's
with
right.
The knife.
That's right. Yeah. So I was with the first one I mentioned. We were in Madison Square Garden when The Rock was making the entrance, and some fan jumped the ring, and Earl finally had to get down there and take care of the fan. I think I tell you what happened was the fan jumped in, tried to jump in. Me and Ron are waiting on him. Brock's on the ropes doing his stuff, and Billy Gunn takes the fan down and gives him to security. Security comes in, and the fan drags security all over ringside. Billy takes the fan down for a second time, takes him down and says, "Get him out of here." Billy lets him up, and he drags security around the ring again. Finally, your dad climbs down and just punches this guy right in the nose. Blood goes everywhere. And the guy's just, he's not out, but he can't stand on his own. And Earl goes, "Get him out of here." Oh my God. You Hebners are good. So, but in Canada, I'm sitting there with your uncle and your dad, and all of a sudden, Earl starts talking to Dave and said, "You've been messing with me since we were kids. Now, don't you start this again." And I'm going, "Oh my God, we're about to have a brother fight." and so Dave says something back. Earl says something to him. Now, all of a sudden, stuff's coming up that's 30, 40 years old. They're talking about when they were kids, or about this, about that. And all of a sudden, Earl punches Dave. Bam! Just like he hit that fan in the garden. So they go to fighting. I'm the only one there among the boys. So they're in a restaurant in Canada. I separate them. I said, "Earl, stop. Earl, that's your brother." Earl goes, "John, I'm sorry. You're right. That's my brother. He was suckering me in." The minute I go, "Okay, Earl," and when I look down, he punched him again. I said, "Earl, stop it." So I look down, and your uncle now has got a knife, and he's about to cut Earl. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" But it's a butter knife. It's not like a steak knife.
Oh God,
dude, gnaw him to death. So he's got this knife. Earl's mad. Everybody's drunk. I'm like, "Oh my God." Yeah,
the
Hebners. That's all I can
say. I've seen a bunch of them, man. A bunch of them. Well, there's one little story I got to tell you. This involves Bruce Pritchard. He had come down to TNA, and I'm working a house show, and D'Lo Brown is the agent. Obviously, Bruce is not there. I'm in my old school mind, okay, and Austin Aries comes down, who has some decent heat, not no JBL heat, but he's got decent heat. And this kid stands up, and he's just acting like a fucking ass. The security does nothing. So I walked down. Well, I didn't walk. I jumped out of the ring, and I go over to the fan because the security had just pushed Austin Aries back. Never even fucked with the fan. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? So I go over to the fan. He stands up on the barricade, and so now he's like 6'5" or some shit. Stands over top of me, and I'm like, "Dude, leave him alone, man." I was like, whatever. He goes, "Hey, fuck you," and spits right in my face. He spits in my face. This was not even that long ago. Remember when Bruce was at TNA?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I stand up on the barricade and headbutt that fucker right in the face. He's juicing, bleeding, all this bullshit. I just turn around, jump back in the ring, and Austin Harry goes, "Thank you. Appreciate it." Long story short, that was the last day of the tour. And of course, D'Lo Brown rips into my ass. He goes fucking nuts. We got to take the fan backstage. We got to give him t-shirts, da-da-da-da. D'Lo made me go at this place we were at, was tied to a bar. He made me go to the bar with this fucking fan and buy his shit, which I did, which wasn't no problem. I understood, but I was pissed though, man. But anyway, so I paid for the guy's shit. I get back home. I land in Richmond the next morning, check my phone. There's a message. Didn't know who it was from. It was Bruce. Hebner. What the fuck? This isn't 1988 anymore. You can't jump out the ring and fucking hit fans. I understand you're protecting fans. I mean, your boys, but god damn. Call me when you get this. So I call him. And I'm like, I know I fucked up, Bruce. Brian, I respect what you did, but it's different. We're 2021. He's looking for a fucking lawsuit, I'm sure. And I went, well, what do I need to do? Well, nobody's going to know about this. This was like in December. And he says, I'm going to suspend you with no pay for the rest of the year. He goes, and that's only 3 shows. And I went, okay. He goes, and then I'm going to decide to bring you back the first week of January when we have shows. And I went, so I'm good. He went, stop doing that shit. It's not no more.
And you're thinking, I got Christmas off with pay.
Yeah, with pay.
Yeah. No. He didn't pay me. He said I only missed 3 shows of pay. And then January I come right back. But I just did like fucking 20 days that I get paid for Christmas. That's all good. Bruce is the man. I love Bruce.
Bruce is awesome.
Yeah.
Bruce is awesome.
Brian, man, go ahead, John.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you a quick story about a fan, Eddie Guerrero. You may have been there in Winnipeg when Eddie beat up the fan and Chavo jumped in. Well, anyway, the guy pours up beer on Eddie. So Jack Lanza had friends there in Winnipeg, and he goes, "Hey, John, would you watch the show for a bit? I got to go talk to my friend." I said, "Okay." So I'm sitting there watching the show. I'm not doing anything. I'm telling guys when to go.
Wait, JBL, wait a minute. One second. You said Jack Lanza had friends in Winnipeg?
Yeah.
He had friends everywhere, but good.
Yeah, Jack had friends. Yeah. He did. So Jack, I'm sitting at the curtain. Guy pours a beer on Eddie. I've been this like 2 minutes since Jack's left. Eddie gets mad and punches the guy, jumps over the rail, and starts beating the guy up. Well, his buddies try to help him. Eddie starts beating them up too. So I'm sitting there going, what the hell do I do? I can't go out there. I'm Eddie's nemesis. So I'm like looking around. Chavo's there. I said, Chavo, help your uncle. Chavo runs out, jumps the rail, and hits the guy closest to Eddie. Now it's Eddie and Chavo beating up everybody. So,
You're dumbass. You're dumbass, Texas.
No. Finally, security gets it settled. I'll get it down. Jack comes back like a few minutes later, and he goes, everything fine? I go, oh, yeah. He goes, any issues? No, nothing. I've been an agent for 2 minutes, and I had a huge fight. A few weeks later, they said, did anything happen in Winnipeg that you didn't tell us about? There could have been something.
Right. That's awesome, dude. I mean, the stories are like forever, man.
Yeah, they are. A lot of fun. Well, Brian, I know you got to go because you got to get ready for your big podcast with Gerald Briscoe.
I've actually got, look, this is what I got for tomorrow. Like, I got sheets.
Holy shit.
He'll try to blow the screen up and cheat.
Yeah, I got the answers right here too.
I sent him the link. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Brian, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you, boys. I really do love you both, man. I really appreciate the respect y'all didn't have to give me. Hopefully that I earned, and
It's all earned.
Not only respect, we love you.
Yeah, we love you, brother. You're one of us. So
I love you guys too, and I really do appreciate it. It's been an honor, and I was actually, believe it or not, was actually looking forward to today all day long just to see both of you, even including JBL.
wow, you're hard up for friends, then, Brian. I'm sorry.
You did send a text saying you were going to knife me.
That's not true.
Well, you take care, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow or whenever the hell we're on.
All right, thank you, buddy. Love you.